You're running full speed, but the markets are faster. Quasar Markets Live brings the world's top financial minds to you. Everything you need to know in one place. Learn from elite educators and gain a competitive edge, leveling the playing field for you. Join the conversation. Quasar Markets Live.
Good afternoon, Quasar Markets Live. We are so lucky to be joined by Agnieszka Wood, our trading mindset coach here at Quasar Markets Live. How are you doing today, Agnieszka?
I'm doing really well. It's good to be back here. Thank you so
much.
Yeah,
you got the new place, everything settling in down there in Miami?
Yeah, well, we are actually still in the west coast of Florida. So we
okay. I don't know why I thought you were in Miami.
No, we used to live in Miami, but we moved actually just 20 minutes away from where we lived. Just a change of scenery. For some people would say, what, 20 minutes away? Well, last time we moved was 10 minutes away. So
so you're expanding out is what you're saying, huh?
Yes, exactly. We're moving a little bit away from the ocean. It's a hurricane season. So
yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
We need you to stay safe there. Agnieszka, so how's everything been going? Last time we talked, you were getting into your new class, so to speak, your new group of traders. How's everything going?
Yeah, it's actually very exciting because we are 1 month into the group program, and the traders are making such a huge progress, and it always kind of warms up my sorry, losing my voice. It warms up my heart, because when you start going on that path of, first of all, making a decision that something needs to change, especially when you struggle in trading, and then you decide, I am actually going to change something, just making the steps forward and building the awareness of what is actually happening, and realizing that most of the things that you're struggling with, it's not because your strategy isn't working, or it's because you're stupid or you don't have it, and hesitating about yourself and beating yourself up, but just becoming aware of what is it that you are attempting to do, and that the market, trading the market, is really not an easy endeavor, right? And that basically it requires you to become a sort of a firefighter, but not to fight the fires, but to be able to run towards the fire instead of constantly running away from it and trying to protect
this is we haven't gone down this road, but I agree. It takes a certain type of mentality, right, to be a firefighter, to be a policeman,
right,
to be in the army. Those people run towards danger instead of away from it. And I never really
Exactly.
thought of it. That's what we do, right? We set ourselves up, even for me in crypto, even more so. We set ourselves up for these intense battles, so to speak.
Totally. It's on our own request. We expose ourselves to insecurity, to uncertainty, to volatility, to risk, basically.
Right.
And if you don't realize that your nature is to avoid risk, to avoid danger, and to constantly protect yourself, you always act against the market, and you always try to fight it. So it's, in a way, becoming a trader means learning how to go against your instincts, your natural inclination to protect yourself, and be vulnerable enough to expose yourself to the situations where you say, you know what, okay, come and punch me, right? Because basically, because when you take a loss,
it's true.
Yeah, when you take a loss, it feels like you got punched in the face for something you did wrong, right?
Yeah.
But it's not about doing something wrong, because losses are part of trading, and everyone kind of says, yeah, I know that, but then when it's actually happening, it does feel like a punch, and you either revenge trade and you want to punch back, or you start protecting yourself and you say, I don't want to lose anymore, and that's where you start also
losing more,
acting emotionally.
It's a great segue. As you know, I gave you all of about a minute and a half warning of what I wanted to talk about today. But what I did want to talk about was, we're starting, in my mind, to get through some of the craziness. And hopefully we're not there yet by any means. It's still tweet analysis, very much so, more so than technical analysis. But, I want our traders, the people here that follow us on Quasar Markets, to be ready when the market's ready to move, right? So I
Right.
wanted to talk a little bit about one of, the first thing that I used and that sort of brought me to you was your trading habit tracker. So I'm actually going to bring it up here. And I didn't even know you have a new website for it. So could you share the website with everybody, and I will put it on the screen.
Yes, it's goodhabittracker.com. So very easy to remember. And remember, it's Good Habit Tracker. So this is to help you build good habits as a trader. And I'm not just talking about habits like, oh, let's go to the gym. I'm talking about mental habits. Because
Absolutely.
why we do those emotional behaviors is because our mind, our brain, and our body is used to act in a certain way. And when you have been repeating the same way of acting for a long time, that created habits. And if you sabotage your trading, those are not good habits, right? So
Right.
you triggered, and then you jump into emotions, and then you jump into emotional trading. So to unlearn bad habits and create a good new routine that will support your performance is key in the transformation process, to even begin the transformation process.
I do want to point out again, Agnieszka is not a clickbait person. This is a fully free product that she puts out for everybody. I use it myself. In a second, I'm going to bring it up. And as you can see on the screen, you just go, you sign up, and within a matter of about 5 minutes, you can have this. And as you mentioned, it isn't only, it's such a great mental exercise, in my opinion. I'm going to stop sharing it here, and I am going to share the actual page here for 1 second. Okay, we do have it. And as you can see, you have so much information on here for people to talk about, from tracking. How did you do, and what I found worked for me the most was right at the beginning. How did your day go from a financial spot, right? P&L sort of. And then I could start to click on what did I do that day? And could I find patterns? And we could talk a little bit about what you put together here. I will go one step further and pull it up.
And you know what's really interesting? So 1 month into my program, I do like a 1 month evaluation. And what I see always coming back is that after just 4 weeks of creating new habits, people stop trading emotionally. And this is just in 4 weeks after struggling for many years. And the most important habits that are coming back is, guess what? Journaling.
Yep.
Which most traders say, I'm not good in journaling, or like, I don't understand why I should do it, what I should write. I'm not a writer, right?
That might have been me. That's why she's laughing, just so everybody understands. I made it very clear that it was the part that I hated the most.
90% of people find themselves not being good at journaling. Again, it's not about being good, it's about doing it. And you cannot become good at something if you don't do it. Second thing is meditation. And the third thing is breathing. And if you think about that, sometimes I talk with traders who just started. And even if you have been for a while in the market, it's like, what does this has to do with trading? Right?
Everything. It really does.
Why do I need to meditate? I want to be a trader and not a Zen Buddhist, right?
Yeah.
It's a different thing. But if you go back to what we talked about at the very beginning, the reason why you need to meditate, the reason why you need to breathe is because you are dealing with your nervous system. You are dealing with your physical body, which is just responding to triggers and it's reactive. Yeah. So you got to learn how to regulate your emotions in order to make rational decisions. And that's where journaling comes in, because this is where you actually start building awareness of what is triggering you. What kind of thoughts are coming up? How do you talk yourself into trades? Breathing, because this is how you can actually relax your nervous system.
Yeah.
By different breathing techniques, you relax your mind and you relax your nervous system. And meditation is because you are not only relaxing your nervous system, but you are building a mental habit of disconnecting yourself from your thoughts and not identifying yourself with everything that you think and being reactive to those thoughts. So this whole, it's just really three things. And if you start implementing it on a consistent basis, you will start seeing improvement in your how you behave, in your results, in even in the way how you show up and how you stand in front of your charts. And I say stand because I always stand.
Absolutely.
How you sit in front of your chart.
No, and it's true. As I've told you, is it really helped me with my work-life balance for both of them, because it made sure I was taking time to, do the things in life that were needed to be a successful trader.
Right.
And not just trying to be a successful trader, but setting myself up for success to do it. And you're able to see. And what I love is you make it easy to fine tune. I've took out a couple of things in yours that didn't maybe pertain to me or weren't at the top of my mind. And I added in a few others. As you know, for me, it was spending time with the dog and spending time with the daughter, that, making sure that I'm doing those things throughout the day. And you hit on another part, is reaction versus response, right? You talk about that a lot. And maybe if you could explain to our newer viewers here a little bit, the difference between the two, because I think that goes into this also. This helps you, as you said, become less reactive.
Absolutely. Because so our natural responses or reactions are very pattern driven, right? There's a trigger and reaction, action, reaction. This is how we are programmed. So whatever hits you as a trigger, there is a certain reaction connected to it on your neurological level. And it happens really very fast. And if you think that about 95% of your thoughts are the same as the day before, there is not much really opportunities for you to change your behavior if you keep repeating the same thoughts, meaning triggers, like think something, oh, I'm going to do that, and then you do it. And a lot of times you don't even notice that you are thinking.
Right.
So you're just being very reactive just because this is the nature how we operate. Now, when you build more awareness of what is triggering you in the market while you're trading, you have this 1 second moment. This is just, a little pause where you can actually decide how do you want to respond. So I make the distinction between the reaction and the response, just to kind of illustrate that there is a difference, that your response is intentional and it's mindful. It is what you decide. Your reaction is just being reactive and sort of out of automatic program and without your conscious control. So just building that, awareness first. If you are struggling with trading, or if you're constantly repeating the same mistake, you are reacting to the same trigger.
Absolutely.
And there is no way to change it. If you're like, I want to stop repeating those mistakes, you have to change the program. So
Absolutely.
you have to
and that's what I was hoping that you would lead us to, because it is the part and the difference. This tracker helps you sort of eliminate some of the noise, in my opinion, and gets down to the nitty gritty, so to speak. And like you said, everybody, it's okay to react. We all react. You can yell at the TV, you can yell at your charts, don't kick the dog, but whatever your reaction might be, but don't be, make sure you're not a reactive trader. Be a responsive trader. So take that reaction, let it come through, internalize it or externalize it, however you want to do it, and how it works best for you before you make that touch, let that finger touch. Let everything else sort of process, right? Isn't that, sort of what that
is?
Is?
Absolutely. And you have probably also noticed, like when you were filling in those points, it's like there is a lot of things on the tracker, but the whole idea is that you actually, while you're tracking those activities, that you can see what is really moving the needle in your trading results.
Exactly.
Like
that's what I sort of meant when I said I took some things off and added, because I saw after a while there were certain ones that I checked one day, didn't check another, and it wasn't hitting the bottom line, quite honestly. So to me, maybe that one wasn't necessarily as important. Something else that in my mind said, you know what, this is one that I noticed I did the last 3 days, and I was much more successful the last 3 days. So let me change it to this. And that's what I love is you make this a Google sheet. Once somebody takes ownership of it, it's theirs. They're able to just adjust it. Nobody does that. I mean, that is what separates you, Agnieszka, from many people out there, is that you provide these things in a way that not only are they there, but most people would make these stagnant and locked. So you're stuck with my way, pay me, and then I'll teach you how to unlock it or give you a password so that you can make it your own, and you don't, which I think is great. Because I think that we all know, right? Not every tool and not every trader is the same. So, having the ability to...
There is a background to it as well, because if you really think about it, then as a trader, you have to be in abundance mindset all the time.
Yeah.
If you are in scarcity mindset and think that you have to, like, I cannot give it because what if someone takes it? You know what I mean? If there is a fear behind it that comes out of scarcity, that means that it would also impact my trading.
Right.
Because if you have a scarcity mindset in one thing, it will bleed through your life and through other things you do. And I think this is also a good thing to realize, is that you cannot say, oh, okay, I'm very disciplined. I want to be disciplined as a trader, but I don't want to be disciplined at all in my life. It's like that doesn't work that way.
Right. And that's a great point.
And that's why you will see that it's changed. Yeah, you said it changed your private life too. Yes, because once you start acting in your best interest, you will automatically start thinking the same way when you are in your private life. It's like it's still you. It's not like you're trying to learn some kind of trick. And those things on the tracker, there is like a snowball effect, because you will notice that, for example, if you say, I went to bed late, right? And if you consistently go to bed late, you might notice that you also skip exercise, or that you skip breakfast. And maybe once you skip breakfast, you see that you're more tired, right? And then your results. So it's like once you start tracking your habits, you will see what is really actually impacting your performance. And you might notice that something like, okay, I drank enough water, and I drink enough water, and whether I do or not, nothing really changes, right? You should drink enough water, but as an example.
No, absolutely. But that's what it is. It can be, it's tailoring it to what works for you, seeing where those connections are or not. Like I said, if you're using the tracker for a month and you're realizing that there's no, rhyme or reason as to why, whatever it might be. Maybe it's, did you have your meditation? Then maybe you don't need to meditate, but maybe you do see that watching television, CNBC in the morning matters to you. Did you spend a little bit more time on that than you normally do? Or did you go take a walk before you traded, as opposed to in the middle of trading? Like I said, there's, so many ways to, peel the onion, so to speak, that what this thing does is it starts to point you in the right direction, to me.
Right. It helps you build the awareness, what is happening, what is going on, and why is it happening? Because a lot of times, when you are not succeeding in achieving your goals, we tend to generalize. Right. And we say, oh, my strategy is not working, or like, I'm just trading emotionally. Okay, but if you put it that way, it's like, where do you start changing it? Okay, so you're emotional, and now what are you going to change? Yeah, I just need to kill my emotions. Like, well, you can kill your emotions because you're a human being. So what's next step, right? Yeah. So there is a system to the madness, and you got to start becoming aware first of what is happening. And this is actually what, in my program, this is where I put the most attention. This is like the very first step of building that awareness before you can go further. It's like almost when you want to climb a mountain, you have to know first, like, okay, what's the mountain? What's the path? Like, what kind of things am I going to be facing on the way, right? So that you can, how to prepare, what to do and what to expect.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, that's what if you don't know what you're trying to do, how do you succeed in doing it?
Right.
Without a doubt. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it makes all the sense in the world, and it does. It I know that for me, it's made such a change in my trading, and it's really turned me from a reactive trader and helped me, take a step back from being that reactive trader and to developing a response. I think for every trader, it probably has its own sort of spot in their tool chest of, weapons that we use to go to battle in the day with the market.
Right.
Do you? I'm trying to figure out how to say this correctly. Have you found that any, habit sort of outweighed any other habit that sort of leads to that, you know,
Yeah, for
equilibrium?
so what I see, and of course on my own experience as well, but what I see also from my students is that the placing your, so like, how do you make sure that you are in mind, your mind is in the right place at the beginning of the day? And I am not talking, oh, I just go to the gym and I just work out and I'm ready to fight, because that's obviously not the right mindset. But how do you place your, like, what do you do to reset your mind? And those can be very different habits. Some people use the prayer to focus, some people go for a walk, some people go and meditate, right? So there are different ways to do certain habits, which then you can put into the tracker and measure for yourself. But the most impactful part of what will benefit your trading is really understanding how do you place your focus of attention. So
Right.
where is your mind at all times, and how can you get in control? Because our mind thinks, that's just a function, right?
Yeah.
Produces a lot of thoughts, and if you let it go crazy, it will. It's a little bit like a kite, right? You
Okay.
always have to hold the kite and steer it in the right direction. If you just let it go, I mean, it's gonna just go all over the place and finally drop down, right? So
You've seen my ADHD in action, I guess, is what you're telling me, because that's what it's like.
you will be surprised. Like, a lot of people I work with, that they have ADHD, and that's, I don't know if this is something that high achievers in generally have, or I just tend to
You attract us
attract
weirdos. Yeah,
ADHD people. I
no.
don't know, but
Yeah, I would say to a point. I think because you're able to, you might not be able to focus on all of them, but you're able to multitask sometimes, or at least we think we can.
yeah, yeah. At least that's, the whole myth of multitasking is busted, right? It's
Yeah.
there was a
For
point
me, it's
where
just I can
everyone
stare at a
required to
chart
be
for hours and
multitasking.
just keep on staring at it. It's like for me, it's like watching a cartoon. I guess I can just watch the same thing over and over again.
Yeah, it can be very meditative. You can really get yourself lost in it, right? Watching a chart, it's like, oh wow, it's 4 o'clock. That's why I don't do that anymore. So a
Right.
lot of the mental habits is to make sure that you do what is in your best interest. And if you realize how much pressure and how much emotional capital you are actually using while you are in the market, and it depends really where you are in your development. But if you are watching, like if I watch the charts, it doesn't cost me emotional capital, because I am not moved by every single, I'm not becoming as
Right.
volatile in the market. But if you are in a trade, that's a different story. There's always a risk involved, so you are using your emotional capital, and you have to replenish it before you can get back in. And
Yep.
actually, last week I posted on my website, aheadcoach.com, there's a blog about refueling your emotional capital. So it's actually a pretty
We'll
good
have to look at
article.
that on Wednesday for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, it gives you
Talk more.
some good tips on how to do that. But just being aware of all those things that are coming at you while you are trading, and it is not like any other job. It is not like I'm just going to sit here and that's it. It's really the toll that your body and your mind is taking, and your nervous system, from just being here and watching the price movement, because all the hopes and all the fears are moving with it. And the whole key is, how do you disconnect all that from moving of the
Absolutely.
price?
Yeah, no, and that's where the tracker helped me the most, was disconnecting at different times throughout the day. And you talked about it for you. You realized that you sitting in front of a computer from 6 a.m. to 4 p.m. you were losing money every day come 1 o'clock, that you would sort of hit your wall, and it didn't make any sense. And I think that's some of the things that do come out of your habit tracker that I think are important that you add. Was I successful? For me, that was one of the first things I added. What time frame, because crypto is 24/7, so it's a little bit different. But with ETFs and futures now, people are trading around the clock. So, what time frame was I trading in? And, sometimes you figure out, maybe I do it better when I first wake up, or no, the opposite. I need to not do it when I first wake up, and I'm going to start at noon. It's different for every person.
Yeah. And one more thing that you notice in the habit tracker, there is a P&L, but there is also a profit factor. Because I always find it important. It's like, okay, so you made money, but how?
Yeah.
How did you do that? Because if you made money, and I don't care if it's $2,000, $10,000, but if you made money by revenge trading, so you first made a lot of losses and then you made them back, I'm like, well, you just wasted your time, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, how efficient and how effective were you in your efforts? And this is where you can see actually how your habits, this is part of your good habit, making sure that your time is not wasted and that you are efficient and effective in how you use it. So that's why I put there the profit factor, because that will tell you is like, hey, I was really managing my risk really well.
It's a great point, because like you said, you could have a successful day, but you didn't do it the right way. You were wrong, and then you doubled it, and then you tripled it, and then you quadrupled it, and you put $50,000 at risk to make 250. And was that the right move? And that is great. And that's what I love about this thing, is it has everything sort of put into a way that it allows you to pretty quickly look and see, was your day successful? And then where are the marks that show me that maybe, that when I can see a pattern. And I love the way it looks, and that you put enough days in a row for me to see these patterns in a visual way, because let's face it, all of us are chart people, right? Otherwise, that's
so you have a little chart at the bottom of each month that will show you, like if you scroll down. I mean, of course, this one is not filled in, so you won't see much.
Yeah, I just took a fresh one. I can't share my proprietary stuff.
Yeah, so here, like if you go back to the website, actually, Good Habit Tracker, this is what you will see on there. So this will be the chart. Like it will show you the habits, and it will show you also your profit.
There we go.
There you go. So you see the chart there with like golden bars. Yep. This is what comes out as a result. So you will see the number of habits that you have accomplished, and then in a chart, in the where those tick boxes are, you can of course see what habits those were. But then you see also your profit curve, and that will, it might be that like in this case, it's pretty random just to show you. But if you see, okay, I don't have to do 15 habits a day and then I still perform really well. Or maybe you do have to have 15 habits. I don't know. Depends what habits there are.
I think it does change. Agnieszka, I know I've kept you past your time here, and I don't want to do that. So we're going to end up on that note. Thank you so much, Agnieszka, for joining us like always.
Thank you so much, Howard.
So much. And we'll see you here back on Wednesday. Traders, be careful out there. And we will see you back tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. with Big B.
Bye.